Hello, my majestic little viewer, Lemeliest here, and if you've been watching this channel for at least a little bit, you know I posted a video about 2 months ago titled The Weirdest Band Ever, aka Bull of Heaven #1. Notice how I put a #1? Well, basically, this is the sequel to that. And yeah, if you haven't watched that, you haven't really missed much. It was basically just me talking about where the band came from and stuff. And if you're interested in that, you can check that out. I also mentioned some of the gimmicks that they did. By some gimmicks, I mainly just talked about the length of their songs and some more Alephs that they've released. Yeah, not as much as what I'm about to talk about in this video, so heads up. And about 2 weeks ago from the time I'm making this video, I asked this question: what Bowl of Heaven related things should I do next? My favorite albums by them, which I was working on a few weeks ago, but I decided to ask this question. Some of the weird stuff they've done, or diving into each of their eras. At first it was split up in the middle, but I guess everybody wanted to just go for diving into each of their eras. So I guess just, in my brain I was like, why not talk about all three of these things, along with many other stuff? Because a lot has happened in the course of 2 months. Not on this channel, of course. God, I'm so inactive. What I mean by this is that 2 months ago, I basically knew nothing about the actual band's music. I just looked into some more of their earlier stuff and just probably listened to only 10 pieces by them at most. But come to today, it's a way different story. I have listened to over 300 Bull of Heaven numbered albums, every single Aleph, 2 of the Untitled tracks, and honestly, that's all I can think of right now. So as I said, I might combine all 3 of these different videos into one bigger video, and honestly, I don't know where to start. So I may just go through each of their eras, just pointing out some standout tracks or albums to me, and also some of the weirder stuff that were done during these eras, so yeah. So we'll start off all the way back in 2008 with Era 1. It started all the way back in January of 2008 with the release of Weed Problem. Crazy title, by the way. And ended at their 100th release called The Thought That Counts, which was released in April of 2009. It's crazy because in their first year, they've already released over 300 hours worth of material. Now, even though this was their first year, they did have quite a few long tracks. Not as long as the ones that we're going to get to later, or as short, but we'll see. Longer releases from this era consist of 028, Even to the Edge of Doom, which is a day long, or 045, The Wicked Cease from Struggling, which is actually a week long, I'm pretty sure. Now, in this era, there's also so many weird tracks. Some are better than others, I'm not gonna lie. With the release of many drone tracks, there were also many chaotic ones, like the one I'm about to play. Now, even though there are a lot of drone sounds, there are a few minor exceptions, like 005, a lovely pair, because many people consider this to be one of the best, Bull of Heaven releases. Honestly, yeah, I can see where they're coming from. Amazing track. Now, even though most of Bull of Heaven's discography is drones, there's a few great drones in Era 1, and a lot of great post-rock releases. So I'm just gonna flash some examples and play little snippets of them, and yeah, we'll see where it goes. So that was just to name a few. That's basically just my favorite tracks from Era 1, and yeah. Now, let's go ahead and move to Era 2, which is actually called the Roman numeral era. Now, this era lasted significantly shorter, only lasting about a month, so from April 2009 to May of 2009. Now, you can notice something with the Roman numeral era. The tracks are way shorter than average. In Era 1, the average was probably about somewhere between 45 minutes and an hour. Right here, it's just a little bit shorter, but yeah. And this era is also way scarier. I'm gonna be completely honest with you. I don't really have as much to say unless it's more of an industrial sound. They use more recycled noises. It's just kind of weird. But since most people watching this probably listen to Bull of Heaven, you're used to stuff that's being weird. Alright, here's me a couple of days later. I have officially listened to every numbered Bull of Heaven release. Just wanted to throw that out there. Now, I don't really have as many standout tracks on here because most of it's kind of just weird, so I don't know. Alright, now we move on to the next numbered era of Bull of Heaven, Era 3, which is approximately 101 to 200. It started in September of 2009 with the first Pinecone, I'm pretty sure that's what it's called, and then it ended with number 200 in April of 2010 with So We Cooked My Son and Ate Him. Crazy name. Now, this era of Bull of Heaven has quite a few fan favorites. Example, number 105, I'm Not Here Anymore. Many people consider this to be one of their best works, and a lot of people like it. I kind of think it's overrated. Well, I mean, at the start, there is a pretty good drone track, so it kind of evens out. Now, most of the longest releases from Era 3 are not the longest. They're only a few days long, like number whatever, aka Vicious, Cruel, and Incapable, which we don't talk about. There are a few minor exceptions, like number whatever, I forgot, which is about 2 weeks long. But one that I'd mainly like to talk about is number 118, aka The Chosen Priest, which is around 2 months long. This was one of the first albums to get him some recognition, but they were still pretty niche. And kinda still are, but whatever. Now, even though most of the tracks on here are kinda forgettable, there are quite a few standout tracks, and I'm about to play them for you. Another weird release I would like to point out is number 137, because I'm pretty sure it's 0 seconds. I'm about to play it right now. It's going to be peak. Okay, that was pretty cool. So anyways, let's move on to the next one. Oh my gosh. We have just moved on to Era 4, and I have so much to say about this era. All the weird stuff they've done, all the great songs. Oh my gosh. Alright, strap in. So it started in June of 2010 with the release of number 201, How Strangely Still the Water Is Today, or somewhere in the lines of that. And it ended with number 300, Songs for Girls, which basically came out around February of 2014. This was the era of Bull of Heaven when, the songs actually, really got long. There's this group that I call a trio, which is 208, 209, and 210. So it starts off with 208. As you etch on the inner window of your eye, which is only about a month and a half. But it quickly goes into 209, which is Blurred with Tears, Beyond Hope. I'm pretty sure that's what it's called, which is 6 months long. Then there's the infamous 210, Like a Wall in Which an Insect Lives and Gnaws, which is exactly 50,000 hours, which is approximately almost 6 years. Then in their next few releases, they did the exact opposite, somehow going into the negatives in length. You can see it right here. I'm pretty sure this is the only time they like actually went into the negatives, but it's still insane. There's also this series called the ICM series, which lasts, I'm pretty sure, somewhere around from 240 to 260, I think. And it just keeps getting longer. At first, it starts off like 3 seconds. But it, like, as time progresses, it just gets way bigger. You get the gist, but I'm going to show you the length of the longest one. This is the 5th longest Bull of Heaven track, or release, and it's 8 yada years, 462 zeta years, 937 exa years, 611 peta years, 972 tera years, 157 giga years, and 4 months, and I don't even know what the heck. Then around the 280s mark, there's this trio, like, once again, and it's even longer. Look at these run times. Like, what the heck? The biggest one is 287, which is over 87 billion, I'm pretty sure, which is wild. I know, judging by how I describe it, I'm making this era sound like it's pretty bad, right? No, this is arguably, in my opinion, my favorite and one of the best eras of Bull of Heaven. There is so many, like, standout tracks. It's amazing. Speaking of standout tracks, I'm about to play them. Let's do this. I almost forgot to mention number 289, aka the calculator. It's basically a calculator that if you solve, you'll get new music. I'm too lazy to do it right now. I tried doing it, but I butchered in my last video about Bull of Heaven, so yeah, I just wanted to point that out there again. Alright, now we will move on to the last numbered era of Bull of Heaven, Era 5. The era started in January of 2014 with the release of Weed Problems Part 2 to 5, and it ended with number 353, aka To Fill the Mouth of Their Monster, which released around October of 2016, around a month before Clayton Count's death. Alright, I think this is the most infamously known, like, era of Bull of Heaven, and you're about to find out. Out of the top 5 longest Bull of Heaven tracks, approximately 4 out of 5 of them are dominated by this era. It already started off long enough with the release of 302, 303, and 304. These titles are insane. They did release a few normal songs, quote unquote, in between that aren't as long. Heck, even one of them is only 10 minutes long. Pretty good track. But anyways, it continued to 307, 308, 309, and 310. These are the 4 longest tracks by Bull of Heaven. Right here, just compacted into these 4 different things. The longest one being number 310. You've already heard it a million times. 3.43 quintillion years. Which, oh my gosh, yeah. Besides that, I'm gonna be honest, it was just like still a pretty normal era of Bull of Heaven. There were a few more like electronic and post-rock shifts, but yeah, I mean, it still was pretty normal half the time. Normal. I don't really have much more to say about this era other than, like, you know, the runtime. So I'll just show you, well, even more standout tracks. So overall, it was pretty good era. That last song was also pretty emotional because, as I said, it was the last track before Clayton Counts died. So, presumably, at that time, Bull of Heaven was completely shut down. They had no plans to make future releases because Neil Keener was the only person left, and yeah. Until around 2 years later, in 2018, Neil Keener announced that he would be bringing the project Bull of Heaven back from the dead, just to release a few more albums. So, well, he did that, and it leads us to this point, which is Era 6, aka the modern Bull of Heaven. It started around November of 2019, I'm pretty sure, with the release of Fight Night for the Ghost of Heaven or something. And it ended, well, presumably ended around March of 2024 with Slightly Artificial. And that was the last, title released under the Bull of Heaven name. I don't know if they'll do anything after, but we'll see. Now, I'm sorry to all y'all, but I'm probably not going to play any modern Bull of Heaven releases, because... Okay, YouTube, before you copyright me for playing all the songs leading up to this point, apparently Bull of Heaven released all this stuff into the public domain whenever they posted it onto the Internet Archive. So that means you cannot copyright me at all, and if you do, check again, I guess. I don't know. So yeah, I just wanted to point this out. There's not as many standout tracks in the new Bull era. I hope they can put it on Spotify, so yeah. Now, before this video ends, I would like to talk about more of the stuff that I didn't talk about, like all their Untitled's, Alephs, and all that, so we'll go ahead and do that. From 2009 to 2011, Bull of Heaven would release the Aleph series, which went from Aleph 0 to Aleph 11. Now, most of y'all might think I have something positive to say about the Aleph series, but no, they're kind of just like, I'm about to play a snippet. There is one Aleph that kind of stands out from the rest, being Aleph 9, which is actually pretty beautiful. They also released this series in 2010 called the Untitled series, which goes from Untitled 1 to Untitled 10. And I've only listened to 2 of them because I can't find the other 8 anywhere. I'm pretty sure they're lost media, but I don't entirely know. They're pretty mid. I don't really gotta play anything. But then in 2013, for some reason they just took another route and just did non-numbered Latin stuff. And oh my gosh, it's really good. I'm about to play some standout tracks. Oh my gosh. They've also done more stuff that I've missed, and yeah, there's probably way more other weird unreleased and rare tracks that I haven't listened to yet, but I'll look deeper. There may be even a part 3 to conclude the series, but hey, who knows? We'll see. So anyways, yeah, if you enjoyed this video, you can check out my other one where I go over the band's overall history and how they formed and stuff, and yeah. And you can check out my other videos. I do long form video essays, and not long form, but But anyways, yeah, well, see ya.